everyone. Welcome back to the Swears and Does Hair podcast. I'm your host, Sue Minsky, and today I have a very, very special guest for you. I'm a huge fan of hers. It is Kayleigh Keen from By Kayleigh and the By Kayleigh podcast. She is a UK-based makeup artist and educator for makeup artists. And today I have her on the podcast because we're going to be talking a little bit about the education industry in general. She had posted a little while back on her Instagram stories some thoughts and feelings about where the educating industry is kind of going. And I was like, ooh, I would love to interview you for the podcast on that topic. So before we get into that, I would love to have you introduce yourself to the audience. Kayleigh, tell us a little bit about your journey as a makeup artist and then transitioning and kind of becoming an educator, who you are, who you help, all the good stuff.
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And that, because I never really get interviewed. So it was so surreal to hear an intro for myself. That was so surreal. But yeah, thank you for that. I am Kayleigh. I am the voice and the face behind By Kayleigh. I am an educator for makeup artists. And yeah, I guess where I began over 10 years ago, which is insane and makes me feel super old. I actually didn't intend to go into makeup. I actually went into law. I worked in a law firm. I was extremely miserable. I was not a fan of that career path at all. But you know, that story where, you know, when you're in school, you're told that beauty and art and creativity will never make you money. I kind of fell for that. So I worked in law, wasn't very fun, absolutely hated it, transitioned to makeup, which was, I mean, this is really telling my age. It was just when YouTube had like kicked off, and it was the YouTubers like Tanya Burr and Pixie Woo Sisters and Bubs Beauty.
Oh,
and,
I love Pixie Woo.
Oh my gosh. And it's just
my
crazy.
husband would always hear me like watching them and he'd be like, are you listening to your girlfriends again? I'm like, yes, I love them. I love their accent.
I miss them. Do you miss them? Like, I just miss that era.
Yes,
that era was so good.
Yes.
So that really got me like into makeup. I was doing makeup all throughout uni for like beer money, for not much money at all, which is embarrassing. And then I got a job at MAC. We'll try and tell the short version because otherwise we will be here all day. Got a job at MAC, moved to the big city, moved to London. I worked in MAC Harrods for a couple of years. MAC Harrods was the busiest MAC counter in London other than Selfridges. So I got really, really good training there on all sorts of skin tones, skin types, type of people. You are literally serving princesses. Not even a joke. I served a princess. Very character building. And then decided to, at that point, I'd been in it like 6 or 7 years, decided to spread my wings, go freelance, got into bridal, shoots, really found my feet in the commercial world, started working with kind of British talent, which was really fun. And then 2020 hit, or rather maybe a year before that, I had quite a devastating breakup and I had to move out of London back in with my parents. And I really think that was the catalyst for By Kayleigh, to be honest, because I had a taste of what it was like to not have a home, lose all your clients, and really look at my finances and work out, gosh, I don't have anything. I don't have any assets. I don't have a home, literally. I don't have any savings. And you know, went home to my parents, thank God, healed a lot, therapy, a lot of it. And we really took care of ourselves. And 2020 came around and I was in a really good place despite COVID happening. And I just couldn't shake the feeling that I wanted to help other women who were in that situation. I never wanted another woman to feel in the same situation that I had been in, which was broke. Let's be real. Let's call it what it was. I was broke. I had nothing to stand on. And, you know, I'd been in the game a long time at that point. I had always kind of chatted about the education side on my makeup account. And I just felt like I needed to create a space for just to specialize in that kind of thing, really. So By Kayleigh was born in January 2021 after kind of about 6 months of concepting it in 2020. And here we are at the end of 2023. And I do it full time now, which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, my journey is like a little similar too, with like you stepping into educator. It was 2020. It was COVID and this whole shift in the industry. And okay, maybe I can't work on people right now. How can I still use my skills and still use my knowledge? And how can I still impact other women's lives? What else is there that I can offer? How else can I help? And I saw so many people starting online education. I was like, I could do that too. Like I had been in the industry for a really long time. I've been in the industry for 16 years now, and actually almost 17. It'll be 17 this coming spring. So it was like, oh, I have all this experience and all this wealth of knowledge. Like how can I help people and how can I share? And there's so much opportunity out there for online education. And I was like, I'm going to do this too. And that was the catalyst. I think the catalyst for a lot of people was 2020 and this eye-opening opportunity of, all right, I have to make money online. Like everybody's got to make money online somehow because we can't do things in person anymore. And I think it made a lot of us pretty crafty.
Absolutely. And I think anybody, I mean, sometimes you don't, but most people, when they pivot, it's some kind of life event or even just a little spark in their brain. It's a catalyst that propels them to the next chapter of their life. So yeah, that was mine, a breakup, but it was my hard work that got me there, not him.
They're damn straight.
Damn straight. To clear that up.
Damn straight. Yeah. So what drew you to the education side of things and made you kind of go in that direction versus like, okay, I want to shift my practical skills or my in-person skills into a new subset? Because, you kind of dabbled around in all of those different areas instead of being like, I'm going to niche down and I'm just going to like really go for it in this one area. What drew you to educating?
It was super organic. I've been reflecting on this a lot because it's obviously the end of the year. It was really organic. By Kayleigh actually started off selling forms. It was an Etsy store. I kind of put my legal hat back on, which is why I really believe that every experience that we have circles back round to us in some way in our lives. So my law degree, which I hated, really came in handy because then I could write, like, I specialized in contract law, so I could write like a pretty mean contract. So By Kayleigh started as that and just little tips and tricks. It was just an Instagram account for like little tips and tricks, sharing my own experiences in the makeup world. And then people just would ask me things. They were like, do you offer this? And I was like, well, I don't, but I really believe in giving things a go and seeing like where the universe kind of takes me. I got asked one day, do you mentor? And I'd been thinking about it for a while. And I was like, I would really like to do this. I back in the day when I was like 3 years old, my first ever job I wanted to be was a teacher. So I thought, let me give this a go. And I thought, you know what, I don't feel 100% comfortable charging for this just yet. It's still such early days. So my first mentorship program was all free. It was just 6 girls that I knew who were like in my tiny baby community at the time. And I mentored them for 12 weeks. And it just kind of really blew up from there. That's when I truly became an educator, was that very first mentorship program. And obviously after that, I loved it. I saw the results that they were getting. And then I saw what you mentioned is there is like a whole world of educators and course creators and people teaching things. And I was like, wait, okay, I think I'm quite good at this. Let me explore that. So that's kind of how that started.
So was that the Level Up Club, or what was that first kind of program that you kicked off with your mentorship?
It's a program that I still run. I run it twice a year. It's my 12-week mentorship program. So it's like a business basics course. Well, it's not even basics. It's literally like, here's my brain for 12 weeks. Everything I know, take it. Yeah, so it's that. I still run it to this day. I'm on season 6 now, so it's on its 6th season. Crazy.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
It's crazy how like things kind of go and kind of evolve. And like I have my signature course. I don't do like group mentorship. I set mine up and was like, okay, I'm going to film all these videos. And it started out as like a 12-week thing. And then, I launched it. And then like 18 months later, I was like, okay, now that I've put it out there, like quick and dirty kind of thing, like got all of my stuff out. Let me refine it. And then it became like next level bridal business 2.0. And then this past spring, I was like, okay, it's been almost 2 years now since I have done it. It's time to redo things again. And it became like 3.0. And now this spring is coming up and it's going to be 4 years. It's time for, the 4.0 version. And I'm going to be going through, and I've realized that I need to like trim the fat, so to speak, in a lot of things and be like, okay, let's make this a more linear path. Instead of there being so many lessons on so many topics, it's going to be here's the path. Here's a more clear blueprint of like the steps. And let's take some of these extra things where it's like, if they have questions on that, like, cool, we'll do like mentorship and coaching and things like that. But they don't necessarily need to sit there and watch a 30-minute video of me going, this is really not a great tactic. I wouldn't do that. But it was like my first volume of it, it was like people were asking me these questions and I was like, oh, a lot of people have the same question. Let me film a module. Let me film a video about it. But it was more of like, this is why this doesn't work. But if you're going to try this path, like here's some ways that you can kind of maybe make it work. And I'm like, does that really need to be in there anymore? We've moved on past that. I think I've had enough time to be like, okay, let's refine things. Let's streamline the process a little bit easier for people. And I think that's kind of been like my experience in the last year of like, oh, okay, I don't have to create on every topic. I can come in there and be like, these are what I recommend. Here's how to do it. Now go get your results.
I think that's what makes it really great though, is a good educator is refining it, because we as humans and the way we learn and the way we absorb information is so different compared to like 2020. Like even like 6 years ago, my attention span was way longer. And now like my attention span is that of a fly because of TikTok and things like that. So I think that's what separates like the good educators from maybe like the amateur or the newer educators, is you have to go back in and refine things for the state of the world now,
Yeah, that's what I've kind of been like, all right, these tactics were how I started my business 16 years ago. There wasn't Facebook then. There wasn't Instagram. That wasn't the thing. You didn't post reels and suddenly, like people in your area knew who you were, or people all over the country or people all over the world could know who you were if you had a reel or two that kind of, went viral or went out there and people were able to see you. It was like, no, it was so much more of in-person networking, bridal shows, and like so many other things, other avenues. And it's like, okay, the digital world has really evolved and taken over so much, and marketing has changed so much. Like my kids don't know what the hell a yellow book is, a yellow pages, the phone book. They're like, what? Phone book? Like I remember when they were small and it was like there was the phone book, but it was online. It was like you Googled phone numbers and it was like you went to like the yellowpages.com and you looked up businesses and things like that. And it's just like just in their lifetime. And, like today is actually my son's 17th birthday. And it's like, how much has the world changed in the last 17 years? It's so different. And how much has it changed just in the last like 3 to 5 years? And our access to information, like it used to be, I looked up recipes on Pinterest. I don't use Pinterest. I haven't used Pinterest really in like years. Now, if I'm looking for stuff, my Instagram knows that I like food. Like my Instagram is just like, I see you like potatoes. This person is doing a 24 days of potatoes for Christmas this December. Would you like a new potato cooking recipe every single day? And I'm like, yes, I would. Please tell me, what else can I do with potatoes, with God's vegetable? Like,
Can you send that to me? Like I
yes,
want that content.
Yeah. And I was like, the last couple of nights I've been like making different potatoes, and my kids love potatoes, and they're kind of just like, every day you're coming out with a new potato recipe. And I'm like, yeah, I found this really amazing Instagram account and I'm so excited. And it's just like just in the last year, like that's how a lot of my recipes and cooking have shifted. When it came time to do something as like a side dish for Friendsgiving this year, I was like scrolling through and I'd saved, because Instagram is set up kind of like Pinterest now, where you can put together collections, like pin all of these posts together in these organized folders. And I have one called food, and I go in and I'm like, all right, what am I going to make today? Like it's really cool. And I think that we have to constantly be evolving our marketing. And for some people that can feel so super overwhelming, particularly when it comes to Instagram. And so many people I know are like feeling really burnt out and kind of overwhelmed in the Instagram space and stuff right now, because Instagram shifts and changes so much. But personally, I find that like just thrilling. I'm like, what is going on today? What is new? My brain is like, give me a problem to find and solve and figure out, and let's create a solution. And it's like, okay, I'm going to keep going with it.
Instagram's what you make of it, I think. I always tell like my community, my students, like, if you tell yourself you hate Instagram, that's your truth, right? Like that's what it's going to be. But you can like kind of curate your experience on there. Like I only follow accounts that make me feel good. I kind of maybe mute like family members that I don't want to completely unfollow, and make sure that the content that I'm consuming is content that makes me enjoy the app. And I think you do have that power, and there's an algorithm. Like if you want to see more of something, consume more of that. And then your entire explore feed will be potatoes. So,
it can totally work in your favor, guys. Like just search for potatoes, man. You can get some good potato recipes. Yeah, but I think you're so right with that, because it's just a computer program, like how do you train that? How do you say to it, this is what I want, with what I want to see more of? And it's one of the reasons why I always recommend to people to have like not just one Instagram account, to like have separate Instagram accounts and to break things up. And if you want to follow like family members and things like that, like I have on my hair and makeup page, because I don't really use that one so much anymore. I'm not working and doing hair and makeup on clients very often anymore. All of my work comes through referrals. Like I work through a specific set of photographers, and either they refer me to go directly to their clients, or they just hire me to come to their studios. So I don't use it for that so much anymore. But that's where I follow my family. Like my nieces, they're all, adults, and half of them are married, and one of them has kids, and like all of that kind of stuff, and my potatoes and all my cooking recipes and all those kinds of, those personal things where I'm like, okay, I'm in this account, I'm in this mindset, and this is what I'm using this app for right now. I'm using it for my own enjoyment, my own entertainment, my own life enrichment. I've trained it to show me what's going to enrich me in that moment. And then when I'm in my educator account, it's like, okay, these are the people that I want to connect with. These are the people that I want to see what's going on in their lives. What are they doing? What's new in marketing? That's the type of content that I consume when I'm logged into that. So I can literally log in with a specific mindset, rather than just opening up an app and you just have your one account and you're just at the mercy of what it thinks you need in that moment. I can choose and be like, this is what I need in this moment. Right now, I need some more potato recipes.
I love that. I have like 7 Instagram accounts. Like over the years, I've made accounts for my dogs that I've just abandoned, but I use them all for different things, like exactly like you. My personal account is like really hype beastie and fashiony and like loads of sneakers. And my dog account is just all Shiba Inu. And my educator account, that's where I go to learn. Like that's where I go to like network and learn and see the community. So that's, yeah. Absolutely. You guys should do that.
I think it helps me segment my life a little better. And like I have really bad ADHD. And so it's like, if I don't have a system for things, it's a hot fucking mess. I'm so scatterbrained and I'm so everywhere that it's like, okay, I need to figure out my system. And when it came to Instagram and it was feeling so overwhelming, I was like, okay, got to put a new system in place. How do I create something that's going to make this work for me a little bit better? And I was like, oh, here we go. I have 2 separate algorithms. I can train each one to give me what I want and what I need. And then it's like, all right, now it's all It's all segmented. When it comes to, you had kind of mentioned like, you're like, oh, that's what makes a good educator. Let's kind of go back to that. When people are looking online, because I don't know how you feel right now, but I feel like the industry has become very saturated, and particularly in the last 18 months or so, with everybody kind of being like, I'm an educator, I'm a coach, and I'm a mentor, and everybody's kind of hopping on that train, where I feel like in 2020, when I first started, there was like two people who were talking about like the business side of thing. Everything else was all practical skill education online. If people are out there and they're feeling overwhelmed by so many options, what do you think that people should kind of like look for in a potential educator, and what kind of connection points do you think people should kind of look for?
That's a great question. I think it's really difficult, honestly, because I, as well as being in the self-education space, I am such a consumer of self-education myself. And I've taken courses that have been absolutely terrible. And I've taken courses that have completely changed my life. I've fallen into some amazing marketing that has ended up being amazing marketing and not much follow through. And I've invested in teeny tiny educators that have maybe not got the best marketing, but they have produced such amazing results for me. So it's a really hard question to pinpoint. But I think the main thing that I like from my own students when they come to me is if they've spent a lot of time following me, if they know me and they know like my mannerisms, they know the way that I teach. I think that's when you can really connect to an educator. The course that I mentioned, the teeny tiny course, I followed her for like 10 years, and I knew what she ate for breakfast. I knew taking that course, she would educate me in the way that I needed to be educated. I just loved her vibe. I loved just the way that she spoke to me and the fact that she was so approachable. So I think the main piece of advice that I have to anybody who is thinking about taking a course or approaching an educator or dipping their toe in is to just make sure that you vibe check that person, make sure they're a personality type that aligns to you. Follow them for a while. Don't get sucked into great marketing. We all get sucked into great marketing. We buy lipsticks that are quite terrible sometimes, Marketing is literally supposed to sell you something.
Foundations.
Literally, right?
Yes, so many foundations. And this one really looks like skin, guys.
And then it doesn't. Oh my gosh, I have experienced that literally this week. But I think also I would love to hear like your thoughts on this. Like, what do you think? What would your answer be to this question? I'd love to know.
Yeah, so I think I agree with you totally when it comes to like the vibe check, because there are definitely educators that I have found and I've seen an Instagram ad. And an Instagram ad will pop up for somebody, and based on like what I've been consuming, Instagram will know, oh, she's kind of searching for a solution for that. And I'll be like, oh, I am searching for a solution for that. It's like it knew. And so, I'll click on the ad because I want to train the algorithm. Yes, send me more people like that who have similar solutions. And I'll usually look and see, most of the time the ads are like for a freebie, like this free guide or this free checklist or whatever, or watch this little training. And I'll sign up for it, and then I'll get their emails. And I'll follow them on Instagram. And it's a deep dive. It's a vibe check with them of what's the tone of the emails that they write with? What is the tone of their sales pages and all those little things? Like, do I feel like I connect with this person? Do I feel like they understand where I am and who I am and what I'm actually struggling with? Or are they somebody who didn't have a similar path as me, who doesn't have similar life circumstances, or was presenting a solution that's not necessarily going to vibe with my life, 40-year-old mom of two who works from home kind of thing. Like, can I relate to them? And I think that to me is like the key of all good marketing is, do you connect with that person? Like one of the things that I like really educate so much on with my students is putting themselves out there online and really connecting with their audience, because they're not just selling a service. They're not just selling hair or makeup. They're selling in person hours of their lives on a very vulnerable time of somebody's life when they're going to be consumed with a lot of emotion. And the vibes have got to be there. You know, they have to feel comfortable and confident and like you. And once my students kind of like go through my training, they're always like, yeah, I keep getting these clients who are like, I feel like I already know you. And I'm like, good, I'm doing a good job. I'm pushing you to put the right things out there online. So those are the kinds of things that I look for when I'm looking for an educator. You know, what kind of language do they use? Are they speaking my language? Do I feel like I would want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with them? Because if I'm going to have to listen to them for hours, you know, even just 2 or 3 hours on a thing, I'm like, oh, I can't stand your voice, honey. Like, never mind. I don't care if you're going to make me $1 million. I can't sit through that. So it's like, can I see myself sitting there and having a cup of coffee with this person? Or are they not relatable to me?
Mm-hmm. And I think as well, like discovery calls are so amazing for like just, you know, you can only get so much from like stories, because obviously like Instagram, it is our big shiny life, isn't it? It's the front of house, not the back of house kind of situation. And I think when you get on a discovery call with somebody, you really get a feel, even though it's Zoom, you can get a feel for like actually the way they speak, what they do with their hands. Are they eccentric? Are they fast? Are they slow and calm? Like you can get loads of different impressions from a 15 to 20 minute chat. And I always find that my discovery calls as well as a educator, when I have them, it enables me to connect with that student and see, actually, are they a great fit for this course? Because I only want people who are great fits, because otherwise they're not going to get results. They're not going to go away and be happy. And, you know, that's not a good thing. So discovery calls, I'm such a fan of them.
I do a lot of like those kinds of things, like when I do like one-on-one coaching sessions and things like that. I'm usually like, okay, we're going to spend the next 90 minutes. Like, I'm going to learn all I can about your business and help you find your blind spots and help you put together a map for your next 90 days. And then it's like, actually, I think I have this other course or this solution or this masterclass or, you know, even just like my email templates or something like that, where it's like, because you said this, I feel like this would really help you in this particular area. Here's just an option for you to explore if you want to continue this. Because some people are like, yeah, I'm a good motivated self-learner and I can log in and I can watch a training and I'll get there and I'll actually implement. And other people are like, yeah, I will buy all the courses and I will log in once. I will get really excited for a week. And then life happens and I'm like, oh, I'll get back to it. And then they don't. And so it's like, I really enjoy the one-on-one coaching with people, because I can see like, is this going to be the better path for you? And is one-on-one coaching could it be what's going to get you the results? Or would I feel like, okay, you could actually benefit from one of these other methods and things like that too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You had talked in your stories about seeing so many educators kind of like entering the market and stuff like that, and almost like not necessarily feeling like imposter syndrome, but kind of making you feel like, oh, I don't know necessarily like, what are my qualifications? Like what, it kind of like makes you look inside a little bit more of like, what do I really have to say? So I'd love if you could kind of expand a little bit upon that and seeing a lot of these people, how as an educator, does that make you feel and how does it impact how you move forward as an educator?
It's really, really complex and I hope that I can articulate it, to be honest. But I put out a story and it was actually following a podcast episode that I did with Sonia Roselli. And Sonia said to me, how do you feel about like the word coach and stuff now? And me and her had a really long conversation after the podcast, which I wish I had recorded. Never speak to your guests like with the mic off because there were so many gems.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it, and she was saying, you know, I don't really like that word anymore. It really feels very like pyramid scheme, MLME to me, and I completely feel the same. And don't get me wrong, like I get like a handful of coaches and educators in the makeup space follow me every single day. You know, I always go and look at who's followed me and see if I want to follow them back or just check them out. And there's a lot. They crop up, especially in the last 12 months. I don't know if you've seen the same. It's just been like a boom. And I believe like oversaturated industries, they're fine. Like makeup is an oversaturated industry, but you never want to be in an undersaturated industry because you won't make money. Oversaturated industries are always a good thing in my book. But the thing that I get a bit icky about, and this is what I was saying in my story, is like it's always like the same copy and the same promises. And it's like there's the same script that I feel like somebody is giving out somewhere that's like the same. And it just feels really sometimes a little bit false. I don't know if that's the right word, but I feel like it's just changed a little bit to be very scripty and salesy. And to me, I don't associate myself with the word coach anymore because I feel like, and I don't know if you feel the same, it feels pyramid schemey to me. What do you think?
It definitely can. And I think that like with the master resale rights, and I think that's why we're seeing so much of it, and we're feeling this way in the last 12 months, because in like 2023, it was like with master resale rights, and it's like everybody is suddenly like, you know, oh, when I saw that person on Instagram who said you could actually make $10,000 a month, and I didn't believe her, but now I'm actually making $15,000 a month or whatever, and I can teach you too. And it's very scripted. It's very much the same. And even though it's not specifically tied to our industry, because for anybody who's listening and doesn't know what master resale rights are, it's essentially you buy this course and then they give you what's called master resale rights. You have the right to take the education that's already been created in the course and turn around and sell it to other people. So essentially what master resale rights are is there's just, you purchase a course and you can turn around and you can resell it to other people. And the problem with that is, and why it's so MLM feeling and this pyramid scheme feeling, is there's no original thought. You're just reselling the same product to everybody. And with Instagram gurus, it's a lot of the same thing is, here's how I grew my Instagram account from 0 to 100,000 people in 30 days kind of thing, is because it's just a random video and a thing on the screen saying, here, use this trending audio. And they have people who are so desperate to go viral on Instagram, and they want that same level of follower growth, that they're just using the same audios and they're copying everything, and everybody is just a copy of another person. And so when you watch a lot of those things, it goes back to what we were talking about, training the Instagram algorithm. The algorithm shows you more of those things. So it programs your brain to think that I have to do these things too in order to be successful and things like that. And so everybody's kind of like, I'm becoming an educator now, and I'm going to use these trending audios, and I'm going to do all these things. And it's just, it's a repeat cycle. It kind of brings me back to like, you remember in YouTube when people were first talking about like beauty blenders, and suddenly there was this like wildfire of all of these YouTube videos of people using other things as beauty blenders. And I think it was more specifically like when the silicone blending sponges came out, they were like, what can I use? And it was some of the most ridiculous, outrageous bullshit I have ever seen in my life. Like I saw one person using a hard-boiled egg.
Yes,
and I was just like, nobody's going to use a hard-boiled egg to apply their foundation. Buy the fucking sponge. Like, but it was for views and it was for popularity, and people would watch their videos. And yes, it was quirky and it was entertaining and it drew people in. And if it was a quality channel, then yeah, they would get big and draw people in, and it was a gimmick. But then if they had quality stuff, people stuck around and they actually consumed that content. And I feel like a lot of the educator language has become the new hard-boiled egg of Instagram, of here's this trending audio. I didn't think I could do that too. Here's how I'm making all of this money. Or manifesting. Manifesting again has become a new, the hard-boiled egg kind of thing. How can I'm going to manifest $100,000 this month kind of thing. Like, yes, I'm all for mindset and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not shitting on manifesting, so to speak, but like some people, they don't understand it, but it's popular and it's what everybody's talking about. And they're just regurgitating what they see rather than consuming information and putting their own spin on it and their own original thought. And I think that's what frustrates me the most personally when it comes to the education industry, where it's like, okay, don't just copy and regurgitate what you see other people doing and other people creating. What about you makes you qualified? Did you use this method in your own life and see the results? And did you use it for long enough to see whether or not it's a sustainable process? Or did it work for you to give you a lot of results really quickly, and now you're turning around and packaging it up and being like, look at my path to success that's only 6 months long? Is that going to work 6 months from now? Or are people going to spend a couple $100s on this training to figure out how to catch on to a dying trend? And so I feel like that frustrates me. And like you had said, when you were talking about like looking at educators and being like, okay, who do I want to follow back? Who do I want to, network with or collaborate or build some kind of community and relation? Because I feel like there could really be a stronger community for us educators to connect and be like, I feel you, I know what you're going through kind of thing. But I look and I'm like, okay, what qualifications are you displaying? How long has your journey been? And not to undermine that people can't be successful early in their career and not have valuable insight that's worth sharing. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes it's like, how long has your career really been? Have you found a quick solution? Has that solution been tested long enough to prove that it's sustainable long-term? Like, sustainability is one of the key tenets of why I want to educate, because I know the mistakes that I made early on in my career that weren't sustainable and led me to a really bad place. And I'm like, okay, these are things that are going to hurt you in the long run. But until you've been in it for the long run, you don't have that foresight, or I guess more like hindsight, to look back and be like, these were some things that I did that led me to where I am. Let's shift the narrative around why maybe people don't want to follow that same path. Who can I help from following in the footsteps? Because I think you can always learn just as much from your failures and just as much from your hardships as you can your successes, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think I think what we're saying doesn't come from like a bad place. Like, my mission is literally to help women make more money, so they're never like in the same situation that I was in. I think it's like, I don't blame anyone for having the same bio as like 10 other coaches, or having the same sales DM script. Like, if that's the first thing you stumbled upon, you're naturally going to go down that path. There is room for everybody to do that. We just need to put ourselves into it. Like, we need to do it properly. You need to have a mission, and it needs to be more than making money, because that will only take you so far. Like, if your mission is to make money, that is not going to get you over the hard humps where nobody is liking your stuff, nobody's viewing your stuff, nobody's buying. That's not going to get you over those hard times. You need like a mission and a why to connect with, to push you through the times when nobody's viewing your stuff. So I think that it just has to be done right. I definitely don't want to like be bitter about it. And that was one thing I was really conscious of with my story that you saw, is I love when educators follow me. I love speaking to other educators. I love speaking to you today. It's so nice because there isn't a place for us to speak to other educators, but try and do it right. Try and like just spend a year crafting something of your own, and with your own experiences, with your own what worked for you, what didn't work for you, rather than somebody else's course that you've just repackaged with your own branding. Like, that's really disappointing, you know?
Yeah, like I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. What really makes a good educator is that they are infused in their education, and you get a sense of who they are. And it's not, because you can always pick out when, like you said, somebody's scripting with things. And like when you start with makeup, you tend to follow a lot of the same steps and techniques of the people that you learn from, whether you learned from a mentor in person or you learned from somebody online somewhere. You watched a YouTuber or an Instagrammer or, you know, some other type of online course or whatever. And you do things those ways, and so you copy it. And so I think a lot of people who are wanting to branch into education, that's why they're doing it. They're not necessarily, like you said, doing it from an icky place. They're doing it from a lack of education and a lack of experience kind of place, that they just see this one way, and so they want to copy it. And so I think that what people can do to not fall into that trap is to expose themselves to so many different types of educators and methods and things like that. Since becoming an educator myself, I've taken so many different courses and masterminds and mentorships and things like that on education, because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to make this my full-time job, then I mean, I know how to be profitable and run a bridal hair and makeup business. I have that experience. How do I become a good educator to translate that experience to my students? How can I do that? And, you know, you start out with the one way, and then you find whether or not it works for you. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe I want to go more evergreen, or maybe I want to go more live launch, or maybe I want to do a course versus a mentorship, or I want to do a mastermind. There's so many different opportunities and things out there. And there's a million different educators who are like, if you want to do it this way and this method, here's how I did it. And so I think it's just important for people to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, I don't have to just copy what I see other people doing. Invest some time in learning how to become an educator and put your own spin on things and do things your own way versus cut and paste, copy, follow kind of like thing. Because at the core of everything is people. And if you can connect with that person, like I was saying, you know, if I can't sit and listen to somebody speak, I'm not going to sit there and buy their course and listen to them speak for hours. I don't necessarily translate so much with the transformation that could happen. Like, yes, I really want that for me, but if I can't relate to you, I'm not going to connect with your message. So I think one of the biggest parts, if people want to be long-term educators or whatnot, is finding their own voice and doing it their own way. Because like you said, there's so much space, there's so much opportunity out here, and everybody has the potential in them to succeed and to do amazing. And I want to see amazing things for everybody. I just don't want to see the same thing over and over again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think another myth that I really would like to bust when it comes to why people go into education is, and it comes down to these Instagram gurus, like you mentioned earlier, the promises of like 7 figures, the promises of like, you're going to do this course, you're going to create this course, and you're going to be a gazillionaire. And as somebody, and you can 100% resonate with this, I am not a gazillionaire. I am so far from that. Like the other day I got rejected for a mortgage, guys. Being an educator is not, we're all good. We still got a roof. But it's not like a fast track to 6 figures or 7 figures. It can be like the potential is there, but you need to want to be able to do it and graft to get there, because the one course, you can build it, but they still won't come. You got to build it, you got to market it, you got to prove yourself if you're stepping as an expert. Yeah. So I think if anybody is thinking about going into it, don't go into it for money, because, oh my gosh, we work ourselves to death, don't we?
Yes. I stopped doing weddings full time because I was like, I've discovered this new passion of mine, and I've shifted so many different aspects of my career where, you know, from one thing to kind of another. And I did weddings really heavy for a while. And then I built a team, and then I was like, fuck this, I don't like that. And then I was like, I'm just going to work for a boudoir photographer for their studio. And I was like their studio manager and their booking agent, and worked with the clients. But then I was also in the studio, and I was there doing hair and makeup and helping with wardrobe and things like that, because it was a male photographer. And so I was always there in the studio, the entire shoot and everything like that. We had like 3 shoots back to back. And I was like, I love this. I love the boudoir industry. And then things shifted. And then it's like, okay, then I went to hair school, and then I became back into bridal, and, all of these little things all over the place. And then educating, I was like, oh, okay. Because, at that point it was like 4 years ago. So it would have been about 12 years in. I was like, man, I've been doing this for over a decade. And as I was getting closer and closer to 40, like, man, your late 30s, your body starts breaking down. It's like you sneeze wrong, and it's like, oh, my back hurts for the rest of the day now. Great. Thank you. Like, you wake up, once 40 hits, it's all fun and games with ladies, man. Like, menopause, I didn't realize that menopause can start at like 40, and it's like the pre-menopause phase. And it's like your whole 40s could all be preparing you for menopause, which means you're not actually in menopause, but your body just sucks. And it's just like, oh no. So it was just like, what can I shift in my career so that if I'm having a not so great day, I'm not having to like put on a face and be there with people so much? Or how can I just have more time with my kids as they get older? And it was just like, how am I going to shift my career? And then it was like, oh, educating, this is amazing. And it lights me up, and I'm so freaking passionate about it. And I love seeing my students and their progress and their transformation, and their confidence grow, and it's just like, that's what lights me up at this age and this stage of my life. But it was like, if I'm going to really do this full time, I can't be doing weddings full time. Like, the first couple of years, I was still doing weddings full time. And I thought, like, all right, this would make me a better educator because I'm still in the nitty gritty and I'm still doing it. And I can be online showing and living the transformation and showing the success. But it was just like, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I can't do this anymore. And now for the last full year, October 2022 until now, I have been doing nothing but being an educator and working and mentoring, my students, and creating my courses and master classes, and really heavily investing myself into the podcasts and everything. And it's like, damn, this is so much work. My days are nice because I can like start work at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and I'm done by like 2 or 3 by choice. So it's not like I'm working 40 hours a week the way I would be if I was in an office. So it still has that same level of flexibility. It's entirely more work than I realized at the outset, because there's so many moving pieces to it. And it's a continuous game of marketing and getting in front of new people and nurturing those relationships. Because particularly if you have a higher ticket thing, like my main course is $1,000, people aren't necessarily just going to find me on Instagram from an ad and suddenly give me $1,000. They're like, no, who are you? And so it takes a longer time with nurturing those relationships, and you see the dividends pay off longer, down the line, versus some people who think, oh, I'll just create a course and I'll have a launch and make $100,000. And it's like, oh, that'd be lovely. I would love to put a course out there and launch it and make $100,000. Like, holy shit, that would be life-changing for me. Sadly, I drive a Mazda. Okay. Like, not a Miata. It's a Mazda. I love my Blueberry, but it's like, I'm not a millionaire. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a get rich quick industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not. It takes graft to get the numbers that you see on Instagram. And I'm sure some probably do get that. I'm sure some do, but from my perspective, I can only speak from my experiences. It's taken, since 2021 to build an audience of 12K and, have a membership and a season 6 of a mentorship. And not every mentorship is a sellout, even now. Not every, the Level Up Club is still not at capacity. And that's just me being real. But there's such good things that come from that as well. The hard work. We also have freedom as an educator. I have so much freedom. Like you said, we can come off at 2. I don't most days. I hope to next year. I hope to.
Yeah.
But it's just a different job to artistry, but it is still a job. It's still, some days there are days where I don't want to do it. And I think that's also a part of the educator space that you don't see, is people say it's like, I wake up and I get out of bed and it's the best day of my life every day. Some days it's Monday morning and I just don't want to do it. And it doesn't mean I don't love it. Both can exist. And I think that also goes for makeup too. You can love doing makeup, but you can still not want to do it some days. They can both exist at the same time.
Absolutely. I feel like that a lot about, still like doing weddings and things like that. Like my best friend still does hair and makeup full time for weddings, and I will assist her, when she needs it. And a lot of times I'll just get a text and she'll just be like, how much do you love me? And I'm like, it depends. How early do I have to be up? And how far do I have to drive? Do I have to go into the city, or am I driving like out into the country and it's at like a winery? And when we're done, we're going to walk up to the front and we're going to go get wine slushies. Then I will really love you. And you're going to pay me for this. I still love doing weddings. I don't know that I'll ever 100% walk away. As long as she's still doing weddings, I think I will continue with it. And then maybe the two of us will just become like wedding planners or something like that. And we'll go into business together and do something fun like that. But it's like, I love it, but also she knows it's like she's really got to dangle a carrot. Some days where she's just like, all right, you only have to do makeup today. And I'll be like, okay. Or she'll just be like, you could do hair or makeup. You get to pick which one do you want to do. And I'll be like, I'm feeling makeup today. And she's like, okay, you're going to be doing makeup kind of thing for this wedding. It's 6 months from now. And that day I might be like, I really wish I'd picked hair because it's much less crap to carry with me. Makeup is there's lights and chairs and tables and the whole kit, and then all your disposables and all your brushes. Whereas with the hair kit, I'm like 2 curling irons, a handful of products. I'm good. I don't really need much else. I need a fuck ton of bobby pins, but there's so much less that I carry for my hair kit that I'm like, oh, why don't I just pick hair every time? I don't have to go home and wash 8,000 makeup brushes. I can just be like, here, I'm going to pull all the hair out of these brushes and soak them. I'll be back in 15 minutes. And they've cleaned themselves.
This. You need to like think of this in the future.
I know. When next time she texts me and she's going to be like, what do you want? I'm going to be like, I think I'm going to go with hair. I'm going to be a little more lazy today. I usually try and pick makeup though, because she upcharges for false lashes, and I'm really good at talking people into false lashes. And so it's an extra $25. And so they pay me directly, and I'm like, sweet, an extra $25. I'm going to go home and I'm going to buy whatever on the way home. I'm going to go to Target and I'm going to go buy that sweater that I was eyeing, because I've now got an extra, $50, $75, $100 or whatever in cash in my pocket kind of thing. So that's why I usually pick makeup. But then I get home and I'm like, fuck.
Brushes.
There's a lot of makeup brushes to wash. It's the hardest part, I think, of doing makeup is washing the makeup brushes. My least favorite part.
I guess it just goes back to what we said, though, that both can exist. Like, you can really love your job, but you can also like dislike aspects and parts of it. And you can have bad days and still absolutely love what you do. And I think that goes with anything. I think this podcast, like this whole episode that we've filmed, has been a really realistic view of like the education industry. And I think that's really refreshing. Like, I feel very refreshed.
Thank you. Good. That's kind of like... That was kind of like, where I wanted to go with it, and just be like, hey, what should people know if they're like, oh, maybe I should move into education? Like, I don't want to shit on it, because it's my career and I love it and I'm so fulfilled by it and everything. And I don't ever want to discourage anybody from any type of career path, but I always want to be like really realistic about things. And even when it comes to hair and makeup, like I try and always be really realistic when I'm coaching people about it. And it's like, yeah, there's going to be hard days, and And there's going to be moments that you don't love. Let's come up with some strategies and some ways to counteract that. And I think one of the things that I like about being an educator and having, almost 17 years worth of experience to draw from is I feel like I've seen and done so much that I can spot pitfalls in things really easily, where it's like, I feel like that's maybe going to lead you down a wrong path. And maybe that's not really as in alignment with your goals as you think it is because of X, Y, Z. I think just having a realistic approach to things. Passive income is never actually passive.
Never passive.
You have to pay for it somehow. You have to pay for it with a lot of time, or you have to pay for it with, ads or hiring somebody to run your marketing and things like that. Like nothing is ever truly passive. If it really was, we would all be millionaires and nobody would have a Joe Schmo job. We would all just be walking around with Gucci bags and living it up kind of thing, but there's work. You just have to choose your work. What do you want to choose?
I think though, if anybody is listening to this, and feeling like, I was kind of maybe thinking about stepping into the educator space, and you really are being pulled to that, don't let this discourage you at all. If you're willing to put in the work and craft something unique and put yourself out there are so many benefits to it. Like we said, freedom and time, being able to choose your schedule. But the main thing is the connection that I have with my students. It's literally like I'm Kris Jenner and I birthed them. It's probably the same for you. They mean so much to me. The connections that you build as an educator and the communities that you can build, and just the fact that you literally can see people achieve their dreams and you play like a teeny tiny part in that. It's priceless. It's so damn priceless. And I think that if it's all the claims on Instagram about the 6 figures, the 7 figures, but that there is the ultimate job satisfaction, is when you see somebody take what you've maybe guided them towards, implement it and kill it. It's so good.
Yes, there's a student of mine, and she joined my course 2 years ago, right out of cosmetology school. And I remember having a conversation because she sat and she participated in a live webinar that I had done when I was launching. And she messaged me afterwards and she's like, I'm really debating it. She's like, here's the thing, as I'm graduating cosmetology school next week, would this be beneficial to me? And I was like, one, yes, for the simple fact that you're going to start off on the right foot and you're going to avoid so many mistakes and you're going to be able to grow having a plan from the very beginning, rather than kind of going out there and trying to figure it out on your own. It's going to help you accelerate that. I was like, do you need it? No. You can figure out a lot of it on your own, and there's a lot of free resources and whatever. This is going to help you get the results a little bit faster. And just watching her over the last few years and how she has blossomed. And for most of 2023, she actually took a huge step away from her business to have another baby, and her husband bought a house and moved, and she just had so much going on. So she took a step back, and then she jumped right back into it when she was ready. And she messaged me and she was just like, thank you so much. She's like, I don't know how I would have navigated this without, a lot of your guidance. And she's like, I don't know if I would have had the same level of confidence. And, just a lot of these amazing things where I was just like, this is why I do what I do, not to make thousands of dollars. The money's nice. It's really nice. But I'm also at a place in my life where I don't really have to work. My husband makes really good money and we've invested and we've saved and whatever. So we're in a really good place financially. So money is not my motivator. It is that connection and seeing, what changes she was able to go through and still remain confident and happy and thriving. And it didn't throw her off course like it could have. I was just like that. That right there is why I do what I do, is for those moments and those messages, and just being or even just somebody who listened to a podcast episode. I've had people reach out and be like, I listened to this message And it really resonated with me, and it made me shift my mindset on something. And now I'm excited and I'm motivated, and I want to go out and I want to do this now. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Good. All right. That was worth it. It was worth getting up and setting everything up and doing my makeup and speaking and then all the editing and all that kind of stuff, because I touched that one person's life. To some people, they might not find that very motivating, and they'd be like, oh, you can't pay the bills with happiness. And it's like, well, but you can also go work for somebody else and be miserable and make more money. So like, why choose this path or this industry anyways? If it's really all about money, you can go sell your soul to somebody else's career and somebody else's dream and make a lot more money. But we do what we do because the lives that we change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if that sounds like something you like the look of, become an educator. It is really fun.
Yes, it is. And we get to meet like really cool other people like you.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
like
you're all the way over there in London, and here I am just outside of Washington, D.C. There's an entire ocean and time zones that separate us. And here we are getting to connect and have this amazing conversation. So, those are the moments too, where it's like, this is fulfilling. This is really fulfilling. It's an amazing career. Just have realistic expectations that you're still going to have to work. It's not a get rich quick scheme. And you're going to still have to find your voice in the industry. You can start with a blueprint. That's totally okay. We all start with a blueprint somewhere. But it's about how you take that blueprint and make it your own. That's going to separate you from the newbie to, the successful, like long-term kind of career person, so to speak. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Kayleigh. And thank you everybody for tuning in for today's episode. I really hope that it has been an eye-opening look and an insight into what it's really like to be an educator. And if it is a path that you do want to pursue, like Kayleigh said, we're not discouraging anybody from it at all. It's an amazing, amazing opportunity, and it could be so fulfilling. And I want to encourage you to pursue it, because if you have something to share, I think it's so important to get your voice out there and to be heard, because you never know whose lives you're going to change with it. So, but it's a job just like everybody else and everything else, and it can be amazing. So thank you so much. If you have any questions about being an educator, please feel free to reach out to me, or, if you have questions about it, I'm sure Kayleigh would love to connect with you as
Absolutely.
well. Yes, I will drop all of the links to where you can reach out and connect with Kayleigh and myself in the description for today's episode. But Kayleigh, if you want to just kind of tell us real quick, where should they go if they want to connect with you more and learn more about either your mentorship or your level up club, or if they have other thoughts that they want to share?
Yeah, come on over. I can mainly be found on the gram. I do love the gram at By Kayleigh Podcast. And I do have a podcast. It is called A Podcast by Kayleigh. I know, very, very inventive name. But yeah, come on over, slide in my DMs. I love combos in the DMs. So let me know if you came from this episode.
Yes, definitely. And wherever you are listening to the podcast episode today, I would love if you could share a screenshot of how you're listening, whether that's Apple or whether it is Spotify, or if you're watching it on the YouTube channel. Share it to your Instagram stories, tag the both of us, let us know. It's always a fun thing. I don't know if you feel the same way as a podcaster as I do, but I love seeing like, where are people tuning in from and what are they doing in this moment? What are they doing where they decided that they wanted to listen to this? Like,
yes,
are they vacuuming their house? Are they driving somewhere? Like, I don't know. I find that so fascinating and so intriguing. And as always, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Like and follow on the Instagram, like and follow on the YouTube, subscribe, all those fun things. The support means the world to us as podcasters, both my podcast as well as Kayleigh's. Highly recommend it. She's got an amazing podcast. I love all of her guests that she has on too. So go ahead and give her a follow.
I will say most of my guests, this is so spooky, just quickly off topic, but I always try and do research on my guests before they come on, just so I don't answer them the same things and I keep it fresh for them. And they've always been on your podcast first. So I've listened to like tons of your episodes, like Kelsey, Carly, Rachel. And so you're like my research podcast, but I've really got into it. So I love your podcast too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I see. And you never know whose lives you're going to touch. You never know how you're going to inspire other people. And that's awesome. And yeah, I saw that Carly was on your podcast and Rachel was on your podcast and everything too. And so I love that we have some of the same guests because it kind of validates to me like, oh, I picked good people too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to go through your list and be like, who else has she had on when I get stuck?
Yeah, there you go. I'll do the same. I'll be like, who had a really great, what were your downloads for this episode? All right. Well, thank you again so much, everybody, for tuning in. And I will see you back next week, whether it is in your ears, in your car, on your computer or phone. I will be there sharing more of my insight and inspiration to help you build the bridal business of your dreams.